Hello, welcome to Closing Chapters, Everyday Real Estate Tales. I'm your host, Brittany Fry. I'm a realtor, I'm a military wife, and I'm a mom. Join me and come transaction by transaction throughout my real estate career starting back in 2016 to hear about the highs, the lows, and the unexpected turns along the way through all of my customers. It's going to be a crazy ride, you guys. I am so excited to share the past, the current, and then what's coming in the future. Hang tight for the ride. Join me about being a realtor, a military spouse, and a mom. Can't wait to see you there.
Welcome back, my friends. Look, y'all, buying a house is not always the easiest, funnest decision in the world, okay? Especially when you have cash and you could go shopping. That's what I'm here for, is to help redirect you, keep you focused, and get it to the finish line. Today's story is about just that. I had a single mom who was doing her best and working hard, and we had her approved just barely enough to get her into a decent little house for her and her family. So, throughout this process, when you have kind of a strict budget, right, it makes it limited on finding what you can to get in the door. So, we're looking and looking and looking, and she had a little bit discouraged. But then this house came on the market that had been completely renovated, and it was a cute little 3 bedroom, 2 bath house, had a decent sized living room, great lot, not too far from town, close enough to family to get a little bit of help. Mama came over and helped with the babies every day, so that was really important for us to be pretty close to mom. So, anyhow, we found this house and it was a really good fit. So, we get under contract, we get going. And then once you get under contract and everything gets handed over to the lender, we start going through the underwriting process. There's a couple little hiccups along the way, and she just feels like it's too much. She's a young mom. She's obviously trying to make ends meet. And at some point, she goes, I would rather just spend the money that I have in my account on something else for the kids than to just hold it and try to figure out buying this house. She was really frustrated at the time and just didn't understand why she kept having to go through these additional hurdles. A lot of times, if you have had an experience with buying a car and not buying a house, the only thing you have to really compare to, and it's very, very, very different. So she's used to, like, well, I can go here and I can say I want that and I can get that today, no problem, and I get a loan for it. A house is very different. You have to work on the loan stuff up front, and there's a lot more criteria you have to meet. You have to have a little bit of money in the bank. A lot of times you can buy a car without any money in hand at all. And there's a lot more liability on the lender's end of things, right? They are backing a whole house, not just a car that can be picked up, taken back to the dealer, and resold in a week, right? So it's a little bit different, and you have to be patient and you have to know what your end goal is. Okay. The other thing that was really hard in this situation, like we've talked about before, a lot of times we can get people into a house for a lower payment than their rent. She happened to be in a very, very inexpensive rental at the time. Was it in the best location of town? No. Was it probably the safest for her children? No. But I'll tell you the one thing it did have going for it is that it had decent bedrooms and decent closets. And for her, that was important. So that was the one thing that we actually had to give up a little bit or restructure our mind around, was that she was going to have a whole house and a backyard for her babies to run into and someone to be able to come over and spend time with her kiddos every day. And it was be a lot safer area for her. But she did have to downsize on her closet space. And that can be hard. I'm not diminishing that one bit, because I tell you what, I love my big walk-in closet. And if you listen to my other episodes, you know I did not have that in my first house in South Carolina. And we used the closet spaces in the other bedrooms because we didn't have kids yet. Now that wouldn't be an option. And I don't know what I would do. When we moved into our current house, we thought, oh my gosh, these closets are huge. We will never fill them up. What are we going to do with all this space? And we are busting out the seams. You add two kiddos into there, a couple of years of collecting items, you can fill any space. Anyhow, so we realized that it was going to be a trade-off, okay? And what we ended up doing was bringing mom over to the house, getting mom's approval. She felt good about the house, and that really helped. And she was our sounding board and the one that could bring my buyer back to earth. So every time things got a little scary or hairy, we would bring mama in and say, "Hey, mom, how do you feel about this? Is this a good decision? Do you approve of this? How do we feel moving forward?" And that was like the strong and steady, which I love. I love it when there's like a matriarch of the family that is willing to be there and to guide and help. And she was not telling her, yes, do this, no, do that. She was simply there to say, I approve, right? Which meant the world to her daughter. And I tell you what, when we were at closing table, signing for this house, Mama was there, and Mama looked at her and told her how proud she was, that she was her first baby that was buying a house. She had other siblings, and she was the youngest. She was the youngest, but the first one buying a house for herself and her family, and that she was over the moon proud of everything she'd accomplished. Mama was teary eyed, daughter was teary eyed, I was teary eyed, and so stinking proud of my buyer for sticking it out. I know how easy it can be to say, you know what, I've got 3 grand sitting right here in my hand. My babies need some new clothes for the spring. Forget the house. Like, I need to take care of what I need to take care of now. That's hard, right? But she stuck it out. And she still lives in that house today. And every time I've gone by that house, her mom or her dad have been there, taking care of the babies, and let me drop off goodies. And she has a lot of family nearby. They all help her take care of the property. I don't know that she's ever had to mow the yard, which is awesome, right? We all deserve a support system. So I'm so tickle pink that we were able to put her into a house where she had that support system. She's not renting and popping around from apartment to apartment anymore. She's in a safer location for her babies to grow up in and to have a place to call home. So just remember, buying a house can be a tactical decision. It's not always this glorious, beautiful, emotional process of finding your forever home and, all of the things that you want inside of a house. Sometimes it's simply a stepping stone. It gets you consistency, where you need to be, safety, reliability, the ability to have your community around you, and especially for your children, to have a space to call home, to not be moving a bunch. When you rent, you are never guaranteed to stay there long term. Never. So this was such a beautiful way to know that I was handing over a huge sense of stability, not only for mom, but for the kids and for her family to have access to her easily to help support her the best that they could. So I still stay in touch with this mama too. She had babies before me, obviously, so it's really cool now to come back and share my babies with her and check in every once in a while and make sure that everything is going well. So it's just to say, no matter where you are in life, no matter whether it feels hard or easy, buying a home can be a good decision. Once again, if she ever decides to sell, she has a ton of equity in this property. A ton, you guys. So she will be able to sell and upgrade very easily if she wants to. Or she can hang on to this house and pay this sucker off, and then she has a place to call home without a whole lot of overhead expense. Or a spot for her babies when they grow up to call home, and then she can move into a different property, right? There's all these different ways we can maneuver ourselves and create generational wealth. So I know it was hard, Mama, but I'm so stinking proud of you for sticking it out, for trusting me, for listening to your mom, and providing a beautiful, safe home for you and your family.
Talk to you soon.
I can't wait to tell you guys what's next.